Welcome to this week's episode. And today I'm going to get to something that's near and dear to my heart: ownership and responsibility. And I think it has a massive impact on how we deal with today's life. So, welcome to this week's episode of the Live Younger Longer podcast. I'm your host, Jason Harris. And guys, if these episodes have been of value to you, I just implore you to please share these episodes with your friends, like and comment. I love to read people's comments. But I think a vital thing in today's society where we have a lack of responsibility. Now, I've done some other episodes where I've talked about purpose. I've talked about vision and how important that is and have people's lives. And again, I think those are some vital aspects to the problems of today's society as well. But I think the lack of ownership and responsibility, personal responsibility, is a massive issue. And I've been talking with some of my team and my leaders. This actually came up on a leadership call that I had the other day with some team members, and and it's it's interesting that in today's world no one wants to look inward and look at themselves and say, okay, what is my role and responsibility of why I'm not where I want to be, right? So let's all look at this together. I'm going to put up the definition on the screen so you can read it with me. But responsibility: the state of or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over somebody else. Example: a true leader takes responsibility for their team and helps them achieve their goals. The state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. The group has claimed responsibility for a string of murders, right? The opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. We would expect individuals to lower down the organization and to take on more responsibility. Often responsibility is a thing that one is required to do as a part of the job, role, or legal obligation. He will take over the responsibilities or oversees as director. And responsibility to and toward: a moral obligation to behave correctly toward or in respect of. So individuals have a responsibility to control personal behavior. And so I just want you to think about some of those aspects of this definition that we're looking at, because sadly, from the highest levels of leadership in our political organizations, in workforce organizations, you name it, all the way down, it filters all the way down. We have a major lack of responsibility in today's world. People not willing to take responsibility for their own actions, their words, or anything else. Sadly, in today's society, it's almost become virtuous to be a victim, right? So when you become a victim of something, now all of a sudden you have this group of people around you that are like, "Oh, poor you! You're so oppressed. You're so marginalized against. Let us pick you up." And you get this group around you that affirms your victimness. And it's like, yes, because you're a victim, now somehow you have purpose, you have worth because you're a victim of something. But when you really look at the aspect of it, the virtuousness that has plagued our society of being a victim, I think, is one of the major aspects of where we are in today's world and why people can't deal with things. I'll never forget, after Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, reading stories about college kids. College kids. Now, these are technically adults who can vote and can serve in our military and can do all these things. College kids that needed to go in their safe space, or they gave them crying rooms because a person that they've never met lost an election. They have no personal connection to, they never met it. The election didn't go their way, and they literally could not handle this. Now, why? Well, I think it stems from childhood, right? Now, when they started saying we can't use red ink on papers anymore because it might make a child feel bad. We can't keep score at the sporting event because there are no winners and losers. I hate to tell you guys, but in life, there are winners and losers. Look around. There are winners and losers everywhere. Life is a competition, whether you like it or not, whether you want to participate or not. Now, it again is your responsibility to participate, but there are winners and losers in life. And when we raise up a generation that everyone wins, everyone gets a trophy. Everyone's on the equal playing field. I think honestly, equity is one of the worst things that could have ever happened to America because we were built on a meritocracy, on the merit of your work and or your abilities. You can succeed in life or not. But if you think about the falsehood of equity, it's never the same. It's almost like socialism. It never works. You can't get an equal output for something because the inputs are never the same. Some people are willing to do more. Some people are willing to work harder. Some people are willing to put more effort than other people. So why is someone that's willing to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week to get ahead financially, professionally, to open their business, whatever, why should their output be the same of someone smoking dope and playing Xbox all day long? The inputs aren't all equal. So since the inputs aren't all equal, the outputs won't all be equal. But in equity, it's saying no matter what the input is, everything's equal. And that's just not a fact, right? But people won't take personal responsibility for their own crap. They won't say, yeah, I didn't apply myself. So that because I didn't get X result. I didn't study for the test, so I failed the test, but it's the teacher's fault and he's marginalizing me because of my sex, my gender, my religion, whatever. And because of that, that's why I failed. No, you didn't study for the test. It's very simple, but most people in today's society are unwilling to take 100% responsibility for their actions, their words, their life. How many people are walking through life constantly blaming other people for their circumstance and they're not willing to take personal responsibility, look inward and saying, why, what decisions did I make that got me to this position? Right. And I did a podcast. One of my very first podcasts I done was a game of 3 rules. The third rule is I will take 100% responsibility. If you didn't see that full episode, I encourage you to go back and look at it. But that's the third rule. I will take 100% responsibility. When we were raising our kids, and if they broke something, something happened, situation happened, they'd almost begrudgingly, when I'd say, "What's the third rule?" I will take 100% responsibility. Right? Like they knew it because I'm raising men, and I'm unapologetic about raising men. I think men should be men, and men should have their roles as men. Right. And that's another whole issue we could get into, the feminization of manhood and the problems that that's caused. But I wanted to raise responsible men willing to take up their own cross, their own actions. And, I always told them their whole life, if you're big enough to say it, if you're big enough to do it, you should be big enough to admit it. Own it. If you did something, if you said something, own it. And if you can't, don't do it or don't say it. Right? But own your actions, own your words. And most people won't. It's crazy to me in today's society. You think you can assault a police officer, an ICE agent, whoever, somebody in authority. You can spit on them, you can throw things at them, you can assault them. And then if you get arrested, it's their fault. How come in throughout media, the victims, the true victims, are never looked at as the victim, but the criminal is the victim? How backwards is this society where you never hear about the true victim of a crime? You hear that the criminal is the victim because of the way they were raised, their environment, their situation, their X, Y, and Z. Who cares about the person that just got stabbed, that just got shot, that just got robbed, their life doesn't matter. It's the criminal. And is the criminal ever taking responsibility? I mean, I watched the most absurd police chase video the other day. I was flipping through channels and I saw this lady that was running from the cops. She rammed multiple cop cars to try to get away. She ran over, or she almost ran over a couple civilians just trying to get her to stop. And when they finally got out of the car, what is she screaming? I didn't do anything. Why are you doing this to me? I didn't do anything to anybody. It wasn't my fault. Right? It's all on camera. Her ramming multiple people, almost running over a couple pedestrians. In her first inclination, is not my fault. And the saddest part is she had a freaking toddler in the back seat. What's witnessing all this, putting that in danger. But again, is it her responsibility to keep her child safe? No, according to her, because she didn't give a crap about that. But her first words out of her mouth is, "Why are you doing this to me? It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything." And that has been programmed into people to where you can do or say anything you want, but yet you don't have to own responsibility for your words, your actions, your anything. I see it all throughout politics right now. It's ridiculous. Of course, every election season you see it. All these politicians, they go to Washington and they pull all their bull crap that they do, but then they come back and tell you how amazing they are and how they're fighting for you and vote for me because I'm a man of the people. But yet you got receipts, guy. Like we have a hugely contested race here in the Senate for state Senate between John Cornyn and Paxton right now. Literally less than a year ago, Paxton was saying how Trump's over, he shouldn't run, he's not electable, and almost everything that Trump was trying to get passed, he was against. Now it's election season, and what is he saying? Me and Trump are best friends. I voted with him 99% of the time. I've always been a Trump supporter. And it's like, bro, you've been on camera multiple times saying this. Now, is he taking responsibility for what he did and saying, yeah, I did that? And standing on true principles or true morals or true convictions? No, he's a typical politician willing to say anything he can to try to get elected again so he can stay in power. You know, sadly, our public officials forgot that their role is to be a public servant. They are a servant of us, of the people. How many of them truly act that way? I could probably name 4 or 5, maybe, that are truly looking out for the people, for their constituents, for who they serve. They want to get up there and just do whatever the freak they want to do to stay in power. And it's crazy. And again, taking 100% responsibility for your life, for your actions, that is a massive thing. Owning your crap, right? Doing it. I was not a great kid in high school. I got in a lot of trouble, had a pretty bad temper. Like I got in a lot of trouble. But it was funny because if I ever got accused of anything and I told the principals I didn't do it, they believed me because they knew if I did it, I would admit it. That's how my dad raised me. Again, if you're going to be man enough to do it, be man enough to admit it. And that happened multiple times. And there were times I got out of trouble because I was like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. And they're like, all right. Because they knew my track record of being a man of my word. And being a person of your word is one of the most important things, I think, in today's society, because most people aren't. If you want to stand out in the crowd, be a man of your word. Be a person of your word. If you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. If you say you're going to have a meeting, have the meeting. Right? If you say you're going to be on time, be on time. Be a person of your word. You will stand heads and tails above so many people in today's society because most people don't. Most people, in their mind, it's not a big deal to stand somebody up for an appointment. It's not a big deal to be late to an appointment. It's not a big deal to be late to your job. Right? Like, be a person of your word. If you want to get ahead in this world, be a person of your word. And that will take you further than you can ever believe. Because you show that you're someone that owns their life, owns their actions, that are willing to be a person that does what they say they're going to do. I used to have a fairly big lawn and landscape company, and out of almost all my employees, there was one that I knew if he was on the job, it was going to be done right because he was a man of integrity, he was a man of his word. My buddy Ryan worked for me for a lot of years. Now, if I knew he was out on the job, I did not have to worry about it because he proved that he was a man of his word. Almost every other one of my employees, I would have to go back and double check their work. And multiple times I would find issues that they slacked on the job. They didn't do it right. They missed spots. They just didn't have pride in their work. They didn't care. They were just there for a paycheck, right? That was it. They were running the clock. And that's why forever in my lawn business, I didn't pay my guys hourly. I paid them a percentage of the jobs that they did. So there were some days they might have averaged $22, $25 an hour. There were some days they averaged $7. It was up to them. If they showed initiative and got a lot of work done, they made more money. If they thought they were just going to ride out the clock and make the same amount of money, I didn't play that game. They got a percentage of each job. So if a job was worth $200, they had a percentage of that job. If they did multiples of those jobs a day, they made a lot of money. If they slacked, they didn't. But it was on them. I wanted to put the responsibility on them. You're in control of how much you make. So let's go down the job market right now. It's a hot topic right now in the job world, right? And there's so many people that are complaining about their job. Now let's get this. Let's go back to responsibility. When you applied for the job, did you not know what they paid? Like the hourly wage or the salary was not in question. Right? I've never, when I used to be an employee, I never got a job and didn't know how much I was going to make ever. Right? You never go and get a job and say, yes, you're hired. And they never tell you your wage. You know, how many people just gripe and moan about their job every single day about how they have no money, they don't get paid enough, but yet it wasn't a surprise. Okay, whose responsibility is that to change it? Now, you can go to your boss and say, I want a raise. And if they value you as an employee, if you bring value to the workforce, they will pay you more. If you don't, or if they don't perceive you as value, they won't. And if they don't, whose responsibility is it to change your situation? Is it you hoping that your boss just all of a sudden gives you a raise? Or is it your responsibility to go find a new job? There are thousands of jobs out there right now. And in today's world, there are thousands of opportunities to change your situation. Now, check out this picture right here. I saw this in my neighborhood. We pick up your dog poop. His whole truck is wrapped in this. Now, that is somebody who says, okay, I know a lot of people have dogs. I know every dog poops. I know most people don't like cleaning up. So you can pay me to pick up your dog poop. He found a way to generate extra income. Honestly, how many people you'd be like, I ain't picking up dog poop. Now you're broke. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You don't know how to get out of your situation, but you're sitting there saying, I ain't gonna pick up dog poop. I had a kid come around the other day offering to clean garbage cans, to pressure wash my driveway, and to mow my lawn. Young high school kid looking to get ahead. How many of you guys are willing to clean garbage cans to make extra money? And again, I am somebody out of experience of this. I was working for AT&T and I got hired in the year 2000. By 2002, my wife and I had stuff we wanted to do through our church. We had some giving and some mission trips we wanted to go on. And at the time, we just got our first house and we're like, okay, we want to move up, but yet AT&T is only paying me what they're going to pay me. And my wife at the time was drawing house plans and it was the same thing. She was getting paid an hourly wage. Okay. How can I generate extra cash flow? Now, any economic person or any financial strategist will tell you the fastest way out of debt or to gain wealth is to create new money. And I was like, okay, what can I do? It's not, I don't have options or I can't do anything. What can I do? Okay, well, I have a truck, I have a push lawn mower, I have a weed eater, and I have a blower. I can start cutting grass. And I started cutting grass. And when I say a push mower, it was not self-propelled. It was a literal push mower. But I started cutting a few lawns. And then the sweet old man at church, my buddy TJ, older guy at church, he had this old riding lawnmower and he gave it to me. Now, it was a kind of piece of crap and it smoked like a bastard, but I could mow bigger properties. And so I started picking up more. And this was all word of mouth. It was me hustling. If I saw a business, their lawn looked like crap, I stopped. I said, hey, do you have someone for your lawn service? Are you taking bids for your lawn service? I noticed your lawn was a little unkept. And I kept going. Now, I did that for two reasons. Number one, if I saw a business and their lawn looked bad, I'd go in there and say, hey, I'm assuming you're taking bids for your lawn service because I saw you that your lawn was a little unkept. So I want to plant that seed. Now, if they're already paying somebody and it looked like garbage, I wanted them to think like, oh, maybe we should make a change, right? And to show initiative. No one came to me saying, hey, bud, I heard you're doing this. I had to hustle for every lawn contract I got. And it got to a point we were doing 80 a week. That didn't just come to me. I didn't have someone to my house. Again, this notion of white privilege. No one came to my house and said, hey, guy, here's a business for you. My wife and I had to scrap from nothing, from being broke, from not knowing how we're gonna eat and how we're gonna pay the next bill, to building a business because I was willing to do what others want. I live in Southeast Texas, guys. It's freaking hot. It is hot. In the summer, it's 100 degrees with 90% humidity. How many people aren't willing to cut grass to make extra money, clean houses to make extra money, do the work that most people look down on? I made, excuse me, accumulative. I made millions of dollars cutting grass. I made a lot of money cutting grass. Is it the most glamorous work? No. Was it hard? Absolutely. Did it get my family to a station that we could have more options to where now I could build other businesses to scale out of that business to where now I don't have to be in the sun for 12 hours a day? Absolutely. Does my skin reflect it? I mean, I got some weather, right? Like I spent decade in the Texas sun. But I was willing to do what it took. I took 100% responsibility for my life. When I left AT&T in 2008, my dad freaked out because I was leaving that safe, secure job. We had 3 little boys at home. We had a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old. I'm leaving this job, going out on my own, but I was willing to take that responsibility. I didn't expect anybody to hand it to me. And that's sadly in today's world, everyone's looking for the handout. Everyone's looking for someone just to give it to them. Ask any entrepreneur ever, really talk to them and ask their story. Find out how many times they failed, how many times they almost went out of business, how many, like, the struggle. Everyone sees that end result and being like, oh, of course. I'll never forget one of my lawn guys coming to me one day and he said, I want to start my own lawn business. I want to get out so I want to make more extra money. I'm like, that's awesome, man. Go do it. I only can pay you so much. Numbers are the numbers. If you want to make more, go get it, man. There's an abundance of people out there. I always looked at it as an abundance mentality, not scarcity. Oh my God, this guy's going to be my competition. I was like, man, there's thousands of people that want their grass cut. So I was like, go do it. Now, this was 6, 7 years of me cutting grass, and we're making some pretty good money. We're making over 200 a year. And he comes to me after 6 months and just frustrated. He's like, man, I'm trying to get clients. I'm trying to do this, and I don't feel like I'm where I should be. And, my business doesn't look like your business. And I just laughed at him. I was like, man, I got 5+ years of sweat, literal sweat equity, grinding this thing out to get where I am. Why do you think you should just have it in 6 months? But that's what people expect. They think it's going to be easy. They think it just should be given to them because they're not willing to take responsibility. So again, if you're in a job that you can't stand, whose fault is it? Are you willing to take responsibility for your life and do what you think you should do to get ahead? I've done multiple things. Like I have a work history that honestly is not the most glamorous jobs in my careers. I used to bury dynamite for Schlumberger offshore down in Matagorda Bay and blow it up for seismic work. It was hard work. We're drilling all day, burying this dynamite and blowing it up. And then I got a job here local because I got tired of being away from my wife, where it was on call. That's all it was on call. So you never knew how much money you're going to make. But we go to the local refineries and get in these Tyvek suits and put respirators on and suck all this nasty sludge and garbage out of some of their refinery vats. Half the time we didn't even know the chemicals we were dealing with. And then I finally got a job with the city of Beaumont working animal control. Animal control sounds fun. Now, dealing with the wildlife was a lot of fun. Going on police raids was a lot of fun. Having to put animals to sleep every morning was not fun. Having to pick up all the dead animals in the city in the summer heat in Texas, not fun. Not glamorous. I got stories. But it was a stepping stone. I was willing to do what a lot of people weren't willing to do. Then when I got hired on with AT&T, yes, it was a great bump and raise. It was a little bit easier job, but they were only going to pay me so much. And there were dreams that I had for my family that I knew a career, a job would never pay me enough. I knew at AT&T, and unless I was willing to work a tremendous amount of overtime, I was not going to have a steady 6-figure a year type income. I created that from nothing. I created it with my lawn business. That gave me more options to start doing real estate investing, to start investing in gold and silver, to start investing in different other things, and then end up where it gave me the opportunity to buy an existing business, a deer processing business. Again, not the most glamorous work. We're literally cutting up animals all day and making sausage and all that. Now, did I know how to do that when I bought that business? No. A partner of mine were on a mission trip in Mexico. This business idea came up. He was representing this guy was wanting to sell his business. We bought it. Neither one of us had ever processed an animal in our life. I've shot a few deer. I had never processed any at that time. But I have always had the mentality that there is not a skill set you cannot learn. So I was just willing to go do it. And I learned it. And there were some seasons, man, it felt like the best business decision we ever met. There were others we didn't get paid a penny. That's the glamorous life of business ownership. There were deer seasons, like our second year that we owned it, we had a hurricane blow through our area. And half our normal market was rebuilding their houses. That whole year, we worked for nothing. There was no money at the end of the season. But we had commitments. We had responsibilities. We had paid this note. It was over a $300,000 deal that we bought this business. That bank wanted their money every month, no matter what. They didn't care a hurricane came through. We had responsibilities. Now, we could have said, screw it, let it go and let it go foreclose to the bank, but we didn't do that. We grinded it out, and I was a part owner of that business for about 10 years before my partner bought me out. But again, I was willing to do things other people weren't going to do. When I got in the world of network marketing, again, it's a business starting from zero. I knew I had to build it. Most people expect just all your clients and team members just to come to you. That ain't the way it works. You have to let people know you're in business, let people know the products and services that you're offering, sow into other people and help them grow their business. And now that business has been our primary income for over 10 years now. But again, I was willing to do things other people weren't willing to do. I was willing to take 100% responsibility for my life, my family. I've joked for years, I wish I could sign a piece of paper to the government saying, I'll never go on food stamps. I'll never take Social Security. I won't take it. Just leave me alone. I'll take responsibility for my retirement. I'll take responsibility for feeding my family. But how many people don't live like that? How many people expect these handouts to come to them all the time? How many expect somebody else to pay their bills? We hear it all the time, right? The media and the politicians are great. Tax the rich more, tax the rich more. Even though 5% of our population is paying well over 70% of the total tax. 5%. But yet, right? Tax them more so we can get more handouts, so we can get more entitlements. It's crazy, this world we're living in right now where no one wants to own their actions, own their words. We see it all the time. We've seen it play out over Twitter the past couple of years. People say the most horrendous things on Twitter. And yet, when they get called out and or fired from their jobs from some of these positions, they're like, what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I being held account for saying some of this stuff? Why am I being held account? We see it in teachers sometimes. They're teaching our little bitty kids, and yet they're posting the most hateful crap online, but they don't think they should have any accountability for that. And that's the problem. Until people are willing to stand up and step up for what is right. Look, there is right and wrong. There is good and evil. There is objective truth. Right? There are just things that are what they are. But so many people want to try to blur those lines and act like none of that exists. And so it must be a beautiful life. It's almost like dealing with an addict. And I've shared my story a little bit, but my mother-in-law, she had a really hard life with alcoholism and pain pills. And I used to joke all the time because most times she wouldn't remember a lot of the actions that she had done. I mean, it's the most chaotic scenes ever if she got drunk. And she wouldn't remember anything. And she'd say and do some of the most hateful things you could ever imagine in your life. And next day she didn't remember it. And I used to joke with my wife, what an amazing way to live. You can just do the most crazy, hateful things ever and not have any recollection and not have any responsibility for it, no accountability for it, because you don't even remember it. Sadly, most people consciously are living that way. They know they're doing stuff. They're not happy with where they are in life. If your marriage isn't what it's supposed to be, okay, are you looking at yourself? Are you putting 100% in toward your spouse? Or are you putting 25, 30% in? Are your emotions going 100% towards your spouse? Or are they kind of going to other places, whether that's virtually and or in person to other people? What are you doing to take responsibility for your marriage, for your parenting, for so many, one of the biggest problems that I see in society is fatherless homes. Men not taking responsibility for their kids, not fighting for their kids, not being a part of their kids' lives, not sowing into them and raising up their children like they should. It's insane. No responsibility. We see it in the abortion world. People think they can go out, have sex with whoever they want, they get pregnant, screw it, just kill the baby. No responsibility. That's a responsibility thing. Most of these things are choices that we make. I used to tell this to my mother-in-law all the time. She's like, oh, I don't know why I do this, or I'm so sorry and all this. I'm like, before you ever take your first drink, there are a series of choices you are making before you get that bottle to your house. At any one point, you could stop it. And it's the same with people running around screwing everybody right now. Quit screwing people. You don't want to get pregnant? There's one way to assure you're not going to get pregnant. One way for sure. Quit having sex. If you don't want to raise a baby with somebody, which is I hate the word to use consequence, but a consequence of that action, maybe you shouldn't be sleeping with them. I don't know, just a thought. No, it's crazy in today's world where you should be able to do anything and whatever and not have any repercussions for our actions. Right? There are so many things in life that this deals with your professional life. Again, if you're not happy with it, change it. I love Colonel Sanders' stories. He was in his 60s before he started Kentucky Fried Chicken, for crying out loud. I know people in their 30s act like they don't have any options. Even in their 20s that act like they don't have any options. In today's world with technology and everything else, there are more options than ever right now to create money. And you don't need capital or credit. If you need to learn a new skill set, you can learn anything you want online. You know how many times I fixed my vehicle on YouTube? You can learn anything on the internet. You can learn AI, you can learn whatever you want. But you'd rather freaking binge Netflix than learn a new skill set. And then you want to bitch about your job for the next 5 years instead of taking ownership and responsibility for your life. And this is one of the major things that is plaguing this nation right now. People unwilling to take responsibility for their actions. I mean, it's just what it is. People break the law all the time and it's not their fault. No, you broke the law. There is a consequence for breaking the law. And then what? Then let's go downstream of that. Then all of a sudden, oh, well, these people are so marginalized, they should be no cash bail for people. Okay, is that teaching people that there's a consequence for the action? No. That's saying, hey, you promised to come back, but you can go. There's no real consequence for your action. So is that teaching anybody anything? No, they want to go back out and they're gonna commit more crimes. But it's not their fault. It was the neighborhood they were raised in. Right? It's different things. I saw a biography about a lady the other day who runs Uncle somebody's. It's a whiskey brand. Oh man, it just slipped my mind. Sorry about that. But she moved out of her house at 15, and she lived in the projects with her friends. Young Black woman lived in the projects with her friends, and then she ended up continuing to go to school. She has started a couple small businesses, like a PR firm, things like that, willing to just earn income. And she kept growing and she kept growing and she kept growing. Now she's the owner of one of the fastest growing whiskey brands in the I think it's Uncle Nearest. That might be right. I think it's Uncle Nearest. But one of the fastest growing whiskey brands in the country. And she set records for being the fastest growing African American owned whiskey brands ever. Okay, could she have been a victim and saying, well, I moved out of my house at 15. I'm a young Black girl living in the projects, da da da. She took ownership of her life. She took 100% responsibility. And now this lady owns this freaking empire. Everybody has a choice, guys. I want to leave you with this. Everybody has a choice. I'm a guy that was probably a BC student in high school, never went to college, got married at 20 years old, and my wife and I were dead ass broke. She was going to school at the time. I was just trying to work anywhere I could, but we were broke. But my dad always drilled this into me. My parents drilled it into me about owning your life, owning your actions, taking responsibility for your life. And I was just willing to do things. And there were times we built multiple six figures a year businesses. I have a high school diploma. Most of the skill sets that I learned to do these businesses was not in school. I learned it outside of school. I was willing to do what others weren't willing to do. And so I'm telling you guys, there's no secret sauce to this. It's if you're not satisfied with your current situation, change it. You have the ability to do it. But so many of us would rather anesthetize ourselves with drugs or alcohol, or we'd just rather just get home, zone out, watch TV for 6 hours a night and not do anything about it. And then they'll wake up and gripe about it again. Before you know it, you wasted your entire life at a career that you hate because you weren't willing to do anything about it. You weren't willing to take ownership. And I think a big turning point that America will have is when people start taking ownership and full 100% responsibility for their life, for their situations, for their actions, and doing what's right, standing up for what's right. And again, sadly, most people are walking around not taking a responsibility and having no true purpose in their life. So they're just trying to glob on to whatever the media is telling them is important at the time. I mean, it's amazing. And we see it all the time. And we see the hypocrisy in our face all the time. But again, I want to encourage you. You do have the ability to change your situation. You do have the ability to change your life. No matter what anybody says about this amazing country we live in, nobody's stopping you. If you want it, you can get it. We still live in even though we have problems, the freest country out there with the less limitations, no matter who you are, no matter what sex you are, what religion you are, what race you are, it doesn't matter. You have the ability to change your life and then change the lives of your children by showing them what happens if you take responsibility and how you can change your situation. But sadly, how many people are on generational welfare? Generational. I mean, that got kicked off in the 60s. And there are people in their family line that have been on welfare ever since. Why? Was it because their parents like encouraged that and taught that? Or did they see, well, if I just do X or da da da, and this is how we lived and this is how we grew up, so I guess we're just going to continue it. Why not show your kids? I don't want anyone else to have control over my life. If you have welfare, food stamps, all that coming in, you're allowing the government to have control of your life, whether you want to admit it or not. Well, what happens if they stop that? What happens if they said, we're not doing it anymore? But how many people are willing to vote for people that are saying, we'll continue to pay you? Instead of just taking responsibility. I don't want anybody to have control of my life. I'm a very independent guy. Like, I want to have control of my actions, having responsibility. And that's where we saw it. If you look through the whole COVID era, there were some people that prospered and some people that didn't. What was the difference? Okay, I'm going to take responsibility for my life right now and control what I can control and say, okay, what can I do through this situation to earn income, to prosper, to do different things versus what I can't do. I couldn't control all the bullcrap the government was pulling, but I could control my business. I could go out there and show people how to make money through the chaos. I could do all that stuff. And so our business did that. Sadly, so many people's have, or they just sat at home begging for another stimulus check. I could care less about stimulus checks because I don't want the government to have control over my life. I want to be able to go, do, say, whatever, earn as much income as I want. And if I don't, whose fault is that? Is that society's fault? Is that the government's fault? Or is it my fault? I always look inward. What can I do to change my situation if I'm not happy with it? Now, again, I just want to encourage you guys, there are no dead ends. I don't care how old you are, how young you are, there is opportunity everywhere. I think we're entering some of the most prosperous times of opportunity ever. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit on your hands and watch it go by, or are you going to take advantage of it? Are you going to learn something new? Are you going to change your situation? I just implore you to change it, guys. If you need help, I do this kind of coaching a lot. I've been doing it for years, both in the health and wellness field, also in business coaching. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Let's just have a conversation. No money. Let's just talk. More than willing to help you guys out because I've been there. I've done it. I'm a living example that if you're willing to take 100% responsibility of your life, you can drastically change your life. From literally working for the city of Beaumont, making $9.72 an hour, to having jobs where I'm getting paid $1,000 an hour. How did that happen? Did it just happen by happenstance, or did I make it happen? Did I create that opportunity? I'm just telling you guys, there's opportunity everywhere. You just got to be willing to look for it, right? Take the blinders off. So with that, guys, take care. God bless. Again, if this has been of value to you guys, please like and subscribe to the page, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next week. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.